100%
Sounds
Dad
good.
podcast, interviews with dads. We got Will. I'm assuming it's Atkinson.
Atchison.
Pronounce
Yeah.
the CH. Tell us a little bit about you, who you are, what you do, how many kids you got, marriage status, all the basics.
Awesome. So I have an insurance agency. Recently sold one, started a new one, under a different set of a different space. Basically, I've been married for going on 6 years now. Dad
How
of
is that?
one.
How can you basically be married for 6 years now?
Well, because it's going April, it will be 6.
Okay.
So basically, like kind of
Got it.
almost. Definitely for 5 years. But
Okay.
almost 6.
I get it. All right.
One daughter, she'll be 2 on the 11th of February. And yeah, man, just staying busy like the rest of us,
Cool. So the insurance agencies, are we just talking like normal, like car, auto, home, that kind of stuff?
That's what I'm doing now. So right now, I actually just became a broker. I was an agent with a captive agency for about 4 years. My wife and I, we started an office together. We had about 50 or so people under us there.
Okay.
The
So
leadership.
you own the agency?
Yes, now I do.
Okay. So you were managing somebody else's.
Well,
or you're
they
an
were all
agent for somebody else.
recruited. It's a funny, it's kind of hard to explain. So I worked for a captive agency. So basically, I worked.
What's a captive agency?
So they want you to own like State Farm or a company like that, where they're only going to want you to sell the products that they have to offer. Right. Whereas now that I'm a broker, like you were saying, I can get more into auto, home, life, final expense, health, Medicare. I can basically do it all now.
Got it.
So before, we had kind of worked our way up from, just day one agent to going out, starting an office. We had about a 9,000 square foot office. Did that for about a year and a half. We opened it the month after. I had my daughter in February. We opened it in March. And then a week later, the pandemic hit. So all of that at once was certainly a lot. But we made it through it. We don't quit very easily. And got out of that.
So you opened up an insurance agency on your own, you and your wife, right after you have a kid, because there weren't enough stressors in life. I did the same thing, by the way. Every time we had a kid, I started a business. Now, you started out in 9,000 square foot with 50 people? That was like day one of.
No, so we started with the 9,000 square foot. We started with that.
Most insurance guys that I know, they start off with like a shared office or something. Like they just get going, then they build up a book of business, and then they grow from there.
I had already been working for this company for about 3 years. So I had already built up a couple $1 million book of business. So I had residual income coming in from that. And then we started with about 10 people. Was already in leadership, had a team of about 10, got a promotion along with my wife. We went over, we brought a business plan to my boss. There wasn't an office in St. Pete where we live.
So you were kind of like a new division almost.
Correct. That's exactly what we were.
Is it like a franchise model almost?
No, not so much. It's kind of a plug and play system like that, where there's already kind of a structure in place when you get there. Some of that we did on our own, specific to our office, but the basic stuff was already kind of in place when we started in the industry at that company.
So cool. And what city did you say it was?
St. Pete. That's where we live. St. Pete, Florida.
Yeah, right down the road from me. That's right.
That's what I was thinking when I saw you were from Florida. I was like, man.
So we're from St. Augustine, so other coast.
That's
we're hanging out in Celebration right now.
Okay. But Celebration, that's out near Orlando, yeah.
Yeah, Kissimmee. Yeah, by just west of Orlando. It's where like all the Disney and SeaWorld and all that jazz is.
Got it. You doing any of
But
that
yeah,
stuff?
actually, we were just over in Tampa. We were at the State Farm. You got me thinking insurance. The State Fairgrounds a couple days ago on Sunday because
Cool.
they had a big RV show over there. The RV
So tell
super
me
show.
about your van, brother. My brother-in-law recently built out his own Sprinter van, and that's kind of what he's living in right now. I was kind of curious.
Have you
Is this your?
have you seen my rig?
I haven't.
Oh,
I've seen
it's
like
not
little glimpses of it, but I haven't seen like the full-on
for
Cribs
starters.
edition.
For starters, it's not a van. It's a fifth wheel. Trying to think,
Okay.
I can't think of a way to show it to you right now, other than if you popped over to the website. Uh, yeah, so it's a fifth wheel. It's a 2020 North Point. So it's about 43 foot, and then we've got a Ford dually, 2017, 1 ton that pulls it.
Got it.
So a little different than van life, a little more space. So you park it. Moving's a little more difficult because you're pulling basically an 18-wheeler trailer.
Right.
And so the maneuvering is a little different. Van life is looks appealing. It's
Not
less
to me.
appealing. Well,
Not to
no,
me.
well, yeah, it depends. I like being outside. I like nature. I like going up to national
Oh, I
parks.
love all that stuff too.
We
I
like
love that
hiking.
stuff.
Well, so that gets you there. That a van life gets you into the national parks. You can just hang out there. You can hike all day. You come back, and it's a glorified tent. It's a mini home, and it's better than tenting, and
For sure.
it's better than having to go back to a hotel or things like that. So it just gets you deeper in there, especially if you set up to go boondocking, because then you can really go in the middle of nowhere, which we like to do. And you're just parked in the middle of nature with not a human in sight. And it's really cool. It's a different experience. And so we like that kind of stuff, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun. So the van life is just so small. When you have a family, it's really not super conducive. Maybe if you have one kid.
Well, he's a single. My brother-in-law is a single guy. He's like 25 or 26.
Yeah, single, dating, even married. Like I would do that, when we're older and the kids are out or gone, or because the van gives you a lot more maneuverability. You can get into gas stations, because you're not towing this big thing. You can squeeze into restaurants. You can detour and go to unknown paths and just kind of explore. Whereas when you're towing 43 feet and 20,000 pounds, you don't want to get stuck on some side road where you cannot turn around,
Right.
So
that's cool.
So it has some advantages. It is pretty cool. I enjoy the lifestyle. The biggest frustration I have in this life is my ability to work is severely compromised because, I mean, you have an office. My entire RV is 420 square foot, which is practically the size of my office back home. And so just imagine your office having, your entire family's beds and a kitchen. And when you want to get the work done, you have your entire family. You have your entire family in the office.
Yeah.
And try being productive in that scenario with even when they're, quote unquote, not bothering you. You're always getting tapped on the shoulder, asked a question.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure you're an engaged dad. So when you're around your kids, you want to be around your kids. And when you're at work, you probably want to be at work.
Yeah, and so that's harder to do in the RV life than at home.
I didn't even fully think about that, just simply because the stuff you see on social media and things like that. Everybody's having a great time. You're exploring. You're doing all that stuff. So
and
I
we
didn't even think about the whole working out of it.
And there's realities to them. For the last couple of years, we've just really been more in the enjoyment process. Been trying to work as much as we can, but now it's getting to the point where we're like, all right, I need to actually work on the business of 100% dad instead of just building it and figuring out.
So you're just doing the page full time.
Yeah, essentially.
Cool.
I wish if I was doing it full time, it'd be a lot better than it is. So I do it as much as I can. Like I said, I'm just not as efficient as I would be at home. Because something that could take me 15, 20 minutes at home genuinely will take me a couple hours here because I'm getting interrupted just setting up will take me 20 minutes because I got to get my space, I got to get the desk set up. I got to get getting internet sometimes is a 30 to 45-minute struggle. And then once you get, and I'm one of those guys that gets zoned in work. Like I'm very ADD. So when I get zoned in, like I super accomplish, but I'm easily pulled out of that. And when I'm not zoned in, I'm just easily distracted by 100 million things. And it's hard to get zoned in when there's your peripheral visions. Oh, there's always movement. There's someone yelling and screaming. There's a fight going on between the kids. Wife's asking you to fix something.
Step in.
Neighbors are knocking on the door asking, hey, we saw your rig. What's all this about? Which we like all that stuff. It's just, like I said, I am remarkably less efficient than I used to be.
So you have
that's the only downside.
Your rig is all wrapped with 100% dad stuff.
Yeah. Are you near a computer?
Man. Go to the 100% dad site.
100dad 100dad.com, and then hit the tour button. And I think there's a picture of the rig on that one.
Because I saw a little bit of it in one of your stories.
Yeah, it's usually in the background somewhere.
Oh wow, man, you're not lying. That's a big deal there. That's cool.
It's
got
fun.
Your family on there. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, that's why I know that picture is getting outdated now. We made that in early 2020. It's 2022 now, so the 3-year-old's now he's pushing 6. It'll be 4 months before he's 6, but it's a 5.5.
That's cool.
The 9-year-old's now 11. The 6-year-old's now 8. So everyone's getting older. Everyone always asks me my kids' ages, and it's I usually know them. When we left, they were 3, 6, 9, and that was super easy to remember because it's to the windows, to the wall. But they keep having birthdays, and it's messing with me. So now
man. I don't know. I wish my birthdays would stop as well.
So yeah, Tampa's nearby. We were at the RV show on Sunday because they had a big one, so we were near you. But anyway, I interrupted. So you got one kid, a girl, 2 years old. Just started a new business, so I assume the business is about 2 years old.
No. So this is, I just locked in an office space. I actually move into that new office tomorrow.
Oh, I thought you said you guys had a baby, then opened up the office like the same week.
We did. That was my first office. I just sold that and just opened a new one on my own. Under my own agency.
So you opened up a branch of somebody else's, and then now are opening up one that's 100% yours.
Yeah, the other one was 100% ours as well. We were on the lease, paying all the bills.
Right.
Everyone that was recruited out of that office was recruited by myself or my wife.
But it was under somebody else's umbrella.
Yes, correct. Like they had I was self-employed with somebody able to still tell me what to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
They're able to kind of dictate leadership changes, who gets a promotion, who doesn't. Obviously, we had a really big say, but I had someone else that kind of would approve those things. I had an upline. Now here, I'm the tip of the spear, so to speak.
And you sold it back to that person, I'm assuming?
Back to my boss. We started it, put all the build out, did all the cubes, did all the everything, conference room, the whole 9. Did it for I guess about 1.5 years, going on 2 years, maybe about 2 years. And then we were approached with an offer. And
okay, so he came to you and asked to buy out the office.
He didn't ask to buy it. He more or less wanted it. And we were like, well, you're going to have to buy it, kind of thing.
Fair enough.
So, yeah, creative differences.
He thought he was just going to take it, huh?
I said the same thing to him. This is kind of the face I had on when he told me, because it just doesn't work like that. It'd be like somebody walking over to your apartment that you are on the lease of and being like, hey, I'm going to just live here now.
Yeah. So partnerships, gosh, so many partnerships go south. There's a few success stories, but that happens a lot in business where one just decides, hey, that guy's making a lot of money, that could be mine, and they just their whole framework of how they think changes.
Yeah, man, greed is a real thing. Um, I like to be the man I am, and I stand on my integrity. Am I perfect? No. Um, but I'm always going to be able to sleep at night based on how I treat people and, things like that. I mean, sometimes the longer road is the better one, you know? Um, so yeah, man, I'd say it was running extremely well. We did a really good job. We had the nicest office that they had. We had a lot of amenities. I had a barber shop in my office and things like that. So we kind of created a culture that was really conducive to the industry that I'm in.
Okay.
And
You got to explain the barbershop in a insurance office. You don't have that
so
many people that you're that. I mean, Facebook, I would get. They got a ton of
well,
people to get haircuts to.
so we had an office culture of how do you want to carry yourself? What type of leader do you want to be? Do you want to be somebody who's in a suit? Do you want to be a guy in pajamas every day at the office? What is it that you want? And my mindset is you dress to impress, and first impressions are a big deal. And if you want people to take you seriously, I think that there's a certain effect that your look can just on first, eye shot, that you can have a big impression on somebody based on that. And maybe they're a little easier to hear what you have to say. Or so back to the barbershop, I like to keep a clean haircut, fade, or whatever you want to call it. So I have a personal barber, and he would come into the office and cut me every Wednesday. And basically, to help his small business, I kind of went to him and said, "Hey, look, when you come on Wednesday, instead of just doing me in the morning and then getting out of here, why don't you stay and cut 5, 6, 10, however many of my guys want a haircut?"
Okay.
So it did a couple of things for me too. It kept it's 2 hours to go get a haircut. I timed it between leaving, getting there, getting the haircut, and then getting back to the office. It took me about 2 hours to do that. And I want my guys to maximize their time. So if I can provide a service that they don't have to leave the office to get, and then they can get right back to work, that's what I wanted to do. Plus, I have guys walking around my office with nice, clean haircut. They look good, they feel good, they're confident, and all of those things do well for sales.
So no services for the gals then, huh?
We did. Had a every other week we had a spray tan lady come in. She has like a little booth that she sets up.
In Florida?
Yeah, yeah. And a nail tech. So they would come in
Okay.
and do the girls' nails and stuff like that.
That's funny. So back to the first impressions, because not a lot of people talk about that anymore, because that's something that's really, it's shifting in culture. Because you look at the Zuckerbergs and such, that the billionaires that can just walk around wearing their gray shirts and sweatpants or whatever they want because they're worth 73 billion. A little different.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
A little different than if you or I decided to wear sweatpants to a first sales meeting. He can go to an investor meeting, never met somebody before, and wear that, and doesn't matter. Instant respect, you be you. But if you or I did that to a sales meeting, meeting someone for the first time, we might be able to, based on our language and how we handle ourselves,
Of course.
change that impression. But realistically, yeah, first impressions matter, and that's not only how you look, but how you handle yourself, and
Right.
the language you use and how you speak and the level of respect you convey and all that kind of stuff.
Agreed.
'Cause
Agreed.
we were in the service industry, so I could usually, I was never a suit and tie guy.
I don't love it, I gotta say, but
Yeah, I mean, I think the looks dapper and awesome. It's just it wasn't practical. I would have to go fix machines sometimes, and it was kind of, I was a mix between white collar and blue collar. So sometimes I was in the office plugging away, and then a freight truck comes in, and there's no one there to unload it, and I'm the guy unloading the freight truck. Or, you know, a repair call comes in to a big client and, you know, guess who's jumping on some refrigeration repair? Me. So you don't do that in Armani. Well, you probably
Yeah.
should. Um,
But don't
and
get
so
it
now,
twisted. I'm not wearing Armani suits over here. So
so I mean, nowadays it doesn't matter. You know what? Decades ago and all the time before that, the quality of your clothes probably mattered. Armani's were distinctly different. Nowadays, something you get off the rack anywhere is remarkably good quality. I mean, you know, all the industries have kind of caught up to where there's really no reason to buy that $20,000 suit because the $300 suits are pretty damn good.
you know, I got a closet half full of H&M suits that are less than $100. I usually try and wear a nicer shirt when I wear those, but
All those industries, they just, you know, what I don't know, what do you call it? The floor of quality has just risen dramatically, and it's gotten cheaper to manufacture the you know, the linens that stretch and breathe and all that. So where that stuff used to be highly desirable, it's just kind of same thing. I feel the same way with cars. Like luxury cars are nice and all, but man, like a baseline Ford is super luxurious now, or
phenomenal.
Toyota or Honda. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
everything's got power, everything, you know, AC, heat, satellite radio, massage seats, you know, heated and cooled seats. I mean,
The
like all that
screen, the
stuff.
touch screen, everything has that now too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
leather, and so I mean, so you know, there are differences between a Mercedes and a Toyota, but it's not as dramatic as it used to be.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, it's just a personal thing for me where, really, we don't have a lot of clients in our office. It's more for mindset, I think, just simply because I had a coach. I played soccer growing up, and I had a coach. Are we allowed to cuss on here? No, not so
And go
much.
fire away.
Had a coach one time say, if you look like shit, you're going to play like shit. So come to the field looking like a professional, have your stuff in a bag, and, don't be running to the field wearing your cleats. And as a young man, that kind of stuck with me. If I'm going into an important meeting, I want to look important, right? Um,
So
if I want, go
there's
ahead.
books on that. There's books on that whole thought process. And it's funny that a coach told you that because a coach told me that in high school too. Um,
Really?
yeah, there's some books
Must be
on
a
that.
coach thing to say.
Yeah, well, they're always, you know, coaches are always reading the self improvement. Well, the good ones are the self improvement books and things like that, and always trying to get like little tips on how to, you know, help somebody's life or improve their team, all that kind of stuff. But um, yeah, there's a psychological aspect to how you dress of when you, like you said, when you look professional, when you look good, uh, you know, you kind of your brain kind of gets into that role better um, than if you show up wearing pajamas
Yeah,
or
because then your mindset is still on the bed or
sure.
being at home
It's
or
more
whatever.
casual. It's laid back. It's easy going, and sometimes you need to be in that go get it mode.
War
Um,
mode. Yeah. Let's
yeah,
let's get after it today. And we have a casual day too. So it wasn't like, every single day was a tie and three-piece suit. Some guys wore a three-piece suit and a tie every day, but then most of us took that break when we could get it. So
I mean, if you like it, you like it. Go for it.
yeah.
I would do most of my sales meetings. You know, I had to keep a change of clothes in my office because I was, you know, we're in Florida, so I was shorts and, you know, we had company polos. Uh,
Right.
I would just change into some jeans and some, you know, maybe some nicer shoes uh, if I was doing a sales meeting. So, but yeah, most people
Yeah.
understood. I'm in the service. We're hawking vending machines and coffee. You know, we're not, you know, we're an insurance agent or anything that was a little bit more white collar. So there was kind of some expectation there. And if I was ever talking to somebody while I was in like grease stained shirts, be like, just so you know, I was just repairing a machine. This is my repair gear, not my meet the CEO of a $3 billion
Yeah.
company. So give me a little
Correct.
forgiveness here. And
Yeah.
most people didn't really care. But you know, if I was going to a scheduled meeting, I would dress with a little more respect for the situation.
And that's kind of where I'm at. If I've been coming out of a long weekend of relaxing and being on the beach or whatever, I'm probably going to wear a suit that Monday,
Yeah.
just to kind of snap my brain back into, okay, You're not still at the beach, you're at work now, so let's
Yeah,
get after it. And it was just a small thing, not everybody judges people off of what they look like. But I think on first glance, it's like when you're dating, when you go out to a bar and you're looking around, are you looking for the girl rocking the sweatpants at the bar, or the one that's dolled up and looks really nice? I'm going to be more gravitated towards the other, the one
sure.
that looks nice. So I kind of feel the same way.
Throwing a little bit of law of attraction in there.
Well, when you walk in and you're looking for a certain environment, recruiting is huge in my business.
Yep.
So I want people to know that we're out here to change your whole life. I want to impact you significantly. I don't want to just be some fly-by-night job that you have for the next 6 months and then you're on to something else,
Sure.
I want you to love it.
So your agency now, I'm assuming you represent a bunch of carriers, and you do some different lines of business, like, car, auto, commercial, home, that jazz.
That's where really my hands were kind of held, tied, or whatever you want to call it. At the last place I was at, I would have to long story short, it was a medically underwritten plan. So like life insurance, you had to be fairly healthy in order for the insurance company to take you on as a client. So there were some people that I'd talk to, oh, I'm so healthy, I'm so healthy, I'm so healthy, I'm not on any medications. And then they look into their medical history and they just came off of 2 antidepressants, all this other stuff. And that person wouldn't get approved, and then I would have nowhere to follow through to actually help them. You got on the phone with me. I tried to help you. That plan didn't work. Now where do we go from here? And I would kind of have to refer that stuff out. So
Okay,
it is what it is. But
so
I did really.
So you guys primary health insurance then?
Only. That's what we're doing right now, because that's our bread and butter. But like I was saying in the beginning, life, auto,
sure,
and then that way for recruiting reasons too, I won't just be having to hire health insurance people. I can hire even if I just do health insurance, I can hire life insurance agents, auto insurance agents, and things like that.
Yep.
So
cool.
Yeah.
So you reached out. I can't remember the exact phrase of. I didn't read it before we jumped on this podcast. I probably should have. Was there a particular segment you wanted to go down, or subject matter you wanted to discuss?
Brother, I'm here because I love your page. I think what you're doing is great. I think there's a lot of dads out there that could use. What's the word I'm looking for? Use a little bit of support, or to know that they're not the only one that's gone through whatever they've gone through. I'm not saying I've been through everything, but I've been through a lot. I figured out a way to get through all the stuff I've been through, much like I'm sure you have. So if I can be kind of a positive outlet for somebody, or if I can be somebody to bounce things off of, or whatever, that's why I wanted to get on here. I'm having a great time. So I was just going to kind of leave that up to you.
So I think one of the great misconceptions for the dad that's struggling and going through tough times is that the dads that are good in their lives right now, they're good in their marriage, they're good with their kids, or their kids are grown and everything went well, that there were no hard times. I think that's the great misconception, is that you either have this good perfect life, or you're you and you're a screw up and you're doing it all wrong and you just can't go right. And I think if that narrative gets changed a little bit more, that hey, the guys with good marriages, the guys with great kids and great families went through hell at some point, or even a little more regularly than you expect. I think that will change a lot of that narrative, and encourage some guys to work through those difficulties a little bit more. and not to beat themselves up quite so hard, because
Well, we do that, right? Like, I think as men, most men, I feel like have a competitive side to them. So it's almost like I don't want to do something that I'm not going to give 100% to. And when I decided to go down this road of daddom, or whatever you want to call it, I had to make a lot of personal changes. What are you dedicating your time to? Because now you have less of it. Are you sitting on Instagram all day, or are you trying to spend time with your daughter? For me, the hardest part was turning off work. We all have this thing where, we're supposed to make all this money, and we're supposed to be this savage in the business, field and everything like that. And I think that what I've learned and gathered is that part of, in my opinion, maybe the main point of life is finding a balance, getting out of it, finding a new one, getting out of it, finding a new one. And that's just the way it is, I don't ever want to tell somebody, oh, I had it easy and I didn't struggle, because that's absolutely not true. I'd say the vast majority of us struggle on a regular basis. I mean, just with different things. We're all in different moods every week. That can change daily even. And no truly successful person that I know of has had an easy road to whatever success looks like for them, whether it's being a parent or being married for 35 years like my parents. It's all, you're going to have struggle. You just got to figure out what the solution is instead of focusing on the problem,
Yep. I mean, that's the great misconception, is that that other people are having easy lives.
Because that's all you see now, right? On social media. It's look how fit I am. Look how cool my car is. You don't see or look what I achieved at work. You don't see the days where that person was there at 6 a.m. and left at 10 p.m, right?
Yep.
You just see the little award that they got.
Yeah. And then on top of that, the fact that most people think that there's one or two things that could change, and then their life would be that easy street, would be perfect if they just made some more, or got this big chunk of money, or just made some more money, or if they just, their wife's not who she used to be, the grass looks greener over there. If I just get rid of this girl, life would be so much better. Yeah.
And then they leave her, and then they're like, man, I wish I had her back.
It doesn't change. I mean, you look at, celebrities are always a good example, because so many of them are just, they're always in their interviews and what they post and all that kind of stuff. They're always talking about, what makes them happy and how life good is and everything. And then, gosh, the ones that are doing that are the ones that have gone through 5, 6, 9, 12, 300 marriages, constantly dating, constantly breaking up. Like, they can't find happiness. They're the ones that are struggling with depression, that are on anti-anxiety meds.
Someone told me about the 20% rule. Have you ever heard about that? Everyone's going to be lacking 20% of what you find perfect. So they might be great in all these other categories, and then they might have parental issues from childhood, right? You move on to somebody else, and maybe they don't have the parent issues that used to annoy you, but they drink too much. Or, everybody you interact with, nobody's perfect. Everybody's going to be lacking 20% of perfection, So, 20%
yeah, well, I think there is no perfection. I mean, there's just, if you're Christian, you sit there and say Jesus is the perfect example, but there's no human that's even capable of becoming close. The issue being now is that so many people position themselves and pretend to be perfection, right? They're the person that's the kindest and the most loving and the most successful and good at everything
Look what I
and the
did.
best relationship, and it's such a fallacy.
It really is. Because I mean, like I said, I just don't know anyone that doesn't have any struggle, any, indifferences. I don't know anyone.
Not only does it not exist, it's going to make you miserable to think that it's out there and to think that that's what you're trying to achieve. And so it's less about not being in those moments, not being in those things that cause you stress, that cause you frustration, that cause you pain, and more about how you handle yourself when you're in those moments. Because if you're going through life trying to achieve that type of perfection and that type of life to where there's just no pain points, you're just going to be incredibly disappointed your entire life. It's not going to happen. And so you're going to be that miserable person. You're always going to be somewhat depressed. You're always going to be sad. And if you can just switch the perspective, it'll change your whole outlook on everything. It'll change the results. And, that's how you live a lot happier. That's why there's so many people that can be poor, that can be struggling in relationships, that can be dealing with a lot of real crap, whether it's in their career or their personal life or friendships, whatever. And yet they're still happy. They can find happiness in those situations, versus people that are in relatively good situations that are always miserable because they have this unmet expectation that's unrealistic.
Well, and a lot of it is, go ahead.
I feel like I'm on a soapbox preaching right now.
Hey, amen. I forgot what I was going to say. Post-traumatic growth. Some of the best moments in life come after a super traumatic event. Post-traumatic growth is a real thing. You could be thinking you're at the worst point of your life, this is so awful, why is this happening to me? And if you keep putting one foot in front of the other, eventually you'll get through that difficult time and you'll kind of look back and say, man, I'm a better man because I went through that, and I made it out on the other side. I've learned to kind of embrace difficulty, because it's molding me into being a better man for my family,
If you talk to guys that are genuinely the older guys, the old heads, that are happy in their lives, and whether success can be defined multiple different ways, but successful in some way or another, but genuinely happy guys, you talk to them, you ask them what they would change in their life, and most of them will say honestly nothing. Like, well, I went through these hard times, this hard time. Even guys that have been divorced and things like that, they say nothing because it made them who they are. And it's that perspective that I think is so important.
It's incredibly important because your life's not over just because you're going through a tough time with your wife or your spouse or your kid or your business or, whatever it is. There is always light. You just have to kind of look for it sometimes. When I'm having a tough time at work, I come home and I see my daughter, and that's my light for the day. Like, let's say I'm having just an awful day, right? Nothing went my way. Today was an awful day. I can get home and there's a sense of gratitude there, right? Like, I get to have a tough day and come home to a beautiful family and do it all again the next day, and I think if more people would just stop, look around, and really pay attention to all that they really do have, these difficult moments won't be so difficult, right? Because it's just a fleeting moment like anything else.
Yeah, appreciate what's in front of you, the real things. I like what you said earlier about just, 1 foot in front of the other. It's that whole, how do you eat an elephant? Like, challenging thing, but the only way to start is take that first bite, then the second, then the third, and eventually you'll chew through it. But yeah, that not freezing up and just pushing forward wherever the struggle is, and whether it's the right direction or the wrong direction. I mean, moving forward is almost the better thing. Personally, my belief, it's better to move in the wrong direction for a little bit. Eventually you got to course correct, but it's better to move forward than to just sit stagnant.
I totally agree.
My
Well,
opinion.
In relation to, being dads, I feel like that's kind of our role, right? Like, I don't want my daughter to see me give up every time the going gets tough. I want her to look at me as the example and say, oh man, my dad, he just doesn't give up. It could be the hardest day, whatever, but again, that's the legacy that I want to leave behind. I want her to, well, one foot in front of the other. I'll get to the finish line eventually. I might not be first, I might be last, but I'm gonna finish. And that's what really matters.
So yeah, appreciating what's in front of you, regardless of the situation you're in, was a big one. Taking one step forward. Those breathing exercises, they call it battle breathing. I just learned it was called battle breathing recently. We did that in college. Was really helpful for for one, like you're really feeling anxious or stressed or just like crap's really going wrong. We've been working on it with my oldest kid because he's got crazy anxiety. It's kind of like an OCD level. Into that battle breathing of like you hold your breath, tense muscles, and then slowly let it out and slowly release the muscles. It kind of like just drains everything away. They trained us to do that at WVU wrestling. We'd have like a sports psychologist come in and then be like handling the pressures of being an athlete and student and all that kind of jazz, and just ways to kind of get control. And that's always been super effective for me.
Breathing exercises.
You hold your breath for a few seconds. You breathe in deep, you hold it, and then you let it out slow. Simple breathing exercise, and then you can add to it by tensing up different muscle groups or your entire body. So you can make it a 30-minute progression, or you can just do it once or over the course of like a minute or two. But yeah, you tense up while you're breathing in, hold it, and then you slowly release the muscles, like relax the muscles as you're breathing out slowly. And you just kind of like you just feel stuff melt away because you're really tensing up and then relaxing it. And I think it's just a flood of endorphins that end up hitting your brain, and it feels good and it melts stress away. And we put that out there a few times, and we've gotten some really positive feedback from it. Just things I wish that were taught. I was taught that as an 18-year-old in college, and like I just never thought of anything of it till about a year or two ago when somebody was, I think it was my son, when he was struggling. I'm like, this is something I've just always done. I never realized it. Like if stuff was getting hard, there was a client that was about to leave, or just realizing employees. So like, I never consciously thought about it. It'd just be one of those, just give me some clarity and I'd move on. And so I was teaching him to that. It was just kind of so ingrained to me at a young age. I forget that other people haven't been exposed to it. And then I learned, I was just reading like a year ago, like they teach that in the special forces, that battle breathing. So like when you're in the trenches and there's like bullets flying around and grenades being tossed, like that's something they teach you to get composed. Like you breathe in, tense the muscles, let go, and it gets some of the, I guess it floods you with endorphins, I think. I don't know the true science behind it. I've read it, I just didn't remember it. And it just helps guys get their composure in the moment, right before they gotta, run for cover somewhere. So, or get, jump out shooting. Or if they're just starting to panic or whatever it is, it helps free the mind up a bit. So that's been a really tactical thing. I wish I knew more of them because I'd share them, but I don't.
Hey, simple and effective, right?
Works for me.
Sometimes the most effective things are the best.
Yeah.
And the easiest.
Your daughter's 2, 2020, so mostly grown up in a COVID world.
COVID baby for sure.
Yeah.
All of it. Yeah, she was only like a couple weeks old when that all hit.
So how's that been?
Let's talk about that.
Are you guys back to normal life, or are you still do you have a kid that's never met another child before?
I would say just like starting from the beginning of when COVID actually hit, let's talk about a difficult moment. I mean, my first kid just opened this office, and anything that I had like imagined being a parent was going to be like got completely taken off the board, right? Because when the pandemic first hit, none of us were leaving our house, definitely not going out to dinner. We're not going to the beach here, was even closed. So it was like, oh my gosh, what do I even do? I can't take her anywhere. I can't do anything with her. It's been kind of a journey, but yeah, now, man, we live in Florida. I gotta say, this is the freedom state, so I love living in Florida.
So,
You know,
so
we're
it sounds like you guys are just back to living normal life.
pretty much going to church every Sunday. You know, yeah, we're back to normal life for the most part. I am cautious about, you know, I'm not going to an indoor concert, right?
I've already
What's
done that. I've already done that.
And I see that.
I got another one scheduled in a couple weeks.
It depends on the band, maybe. But yeah, for the most part, man, we're back to normal life, and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got over it real quick. I was trying to be polite and nice and everything, but I'm one of those guys that's like, hey, you know how you build up your immune system, kid? Here, there's some gum underneath this park bench. Chew on it for a bit. That'll be good for you.
I'm with you. I feel like kids these days need a little of that.
Well, this was pre-pandemic. I mean, there's always been germaphobes and people, you know, we've always been a little bit more cautious with that stuff. Everyone gets more careful in flu season. I've never been that person. I've never wiped my shopping cart down with the.
Never.
People were doing that pre-pandemic.
Man, I gotta say, I still don't.
Yeah, and honestly, so we have one cousin that has always complete germaphobe, has always done that, and her kid's sick all the time. So it was kind of one of those things. I'm like, see, I feel like you need to be exposed to stuff all the time. You know, I feel like me and my kids are going to be little cockroaches. Like the end of the world's going to come, and we're just going to still be scattering around because nothing's getting through our immune system.
I mean, let's get real though. Like, I got COVID like almost 2 years ago. I guess 2 years ago.
How'd you get it?
I believe I got it from someone in our office. I gotta say too, like, I feel like I have a decent immune system. God bless me with that. And I call it pre-sick. So, you know, when you're about to get sick and you're kind of like, oh crap, I'm about to get sick. That's like what's that?
You feel it hitting you a little bit?
I could feel it, you know, the night before you're actually sick, you know, and you're starting to get a little chilly and you're just kind of like, oh man, like, I think this could be it. That's kind of how I felt for like 3 days. Other than that, man, I've been fine. Everybody in my house has been fine. Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't get walloped with it then?
I didn't what?
You didn't get walloped with it?
Nah, did not get walloped.
We picked it up New York City when it first came out.
Go figure.
Yeah, because I had kids like licking the banisters because you know, they're goobers. Because the youngest one, you know, your youngest kid is always the most stubborn. So if you say not to do something, they're like, oh.
Don't push the red button.
Yeah. So, and then like my oldest kid's so conscious of everything. He's like, there's so much trash on the ground. It's like picking up trash and throwing in trash cans. I'm like, stop touching all this crap around me. It's New York City. Like, our immune system isn't designed for the city. We're designed for like nice rural towns. And this was pre-COVID. COVID only existed in Seattle back then. And then like the day we left New York City, they're like, we have our first official case. And then the next day they're like, they really didn't have a way to test back then. They're like, we think we might have 10,000 cases. And we got smacked hard. We just don't get sick. Like we might get a little bit here and there. Like one kid might get a flu or a cold, but it doesn't run through the family or anything like that. And we all still like climb on top of each other and all that jazz. But yeah, that one walloped us pretty hard. I think so. I don't even take, like, if I have a headache, I don't take Tylenols or Advil. I don't like taking stuff. Uh,
Dude, we're like the same person.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not into prescription drugs whatsoever.
Oh,
Like you're saying,
I don't even do the over counters. Like, I'm like, I'll
I
deal with
might
that.
I might do an Advil or something like that. I just, with my job, I never really fully was aware of, I've never really been a sick person, so I've never really been on that many medications at once. But some of the people I talk to, because one of the first questions I ask them is, "Why are you looking?" And then, what's your situation? Like, what's going on? And what do you need coverage for? And they start getting into all these medications. Well, I took a high blood pressure med, and then that gave me a stomach issue, so now I take this for my stomach, and I took that, and now I get recurring migraines. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, nah, not for me.
There's a crazy amount of meds out there. And the popular thing, at least, in St. Augustine, Florida, is all the moms. They're taking all these different medications to stay skinny, and so they get, gosh, I don't know. It's just so easy to get prescriptions. So I think they get the ADHD medications, and I think that helps with something. Then there's something like, is it the ADHD? I don't know. There's something else you can say. It might be anxiety related, but it helps keep you skinny. And so they're popping like 3-4 different prescriptions just to, and so they're popping these pills. So I will say, even though I don't even take Tylenol, there's been real thought. I haven't done it yet, but my wife and I got a buddy that's a PA, and then another friend that's a doctor, back in St. Augustine. They're all like, "Yeah, dude, you have so bad ADHD. If you were to take a crap, I forget what it's called, the ADHD meds. Back in my day, they were
Adderall or
Adderall,
Ritalin.
something like that. They were like, it would change your life." And I'm so against that kind of stuff that, like, now living in an RV, I'm almost like, maybe I just need to start popping one of those every once in a while, just so I can get some work done while y'all are climbing over top of me.
I took Adderall for a little while. It was good and not good at the same time.
Did it change who you were almost at home?
No, I don't think it changed who I was, because I didn't take it when I was at home. I would take like 5 milligrams a day, which is like nothing. What I found was I was too focused on everything. So like little easy tasks, cleaning the counter. That's a 2-minute long task that would take me 5-10 minutes, right?
Huh. Okay.
I don't remember the last time I cleaned the counter, but I'm just thinking of simple tasks, right? Going through your email or typing an email. Sometimes it's better to just get it all out and get it out there. When I would take that, I would just, everything had to be perfect, and this, that, and the other thing, and it made me just wordy when I was on the phone.
Okay.
I would just be talk, no breath.
So I had a buddy who, I think his family occurs, and he's well into his 20s at this point, but he's like I think I'm ADD. He's like a whole different level. He genuinely is like madness. And his family wanted him to take it, and he did. And his wife made him stop, because while he, like, it almost changed him into a different person. While he was super focused at work and everything, and much more attentive, and could actually focus on the project at hand instead of being scatterbrained. At home, I think, what did she say? Something along the lines of like, I married this great, fun, spontaneous guy, and you're not him anymore. Like, you don't play with the kids as much anymore. You're not as, laughing and telling jokes and happy-go-lucky. And so it really just kind of changed who he was. And so he just decided to say, he'll let his, I guess, career kind of sacrifice that aspect of it and be a little bit more jump brain, so he's a better father and a better husband at home, or at least more genuine to the personality she married, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense. That's why, and for me, like, just related to what we're talking about, I didn't like taking it. I liked how I performed when I took it, but I would take a small amount that would last me, let's call it 6-7 hours. And then after that, when I was at home, I don't need it. I don't need to be focused. I just need to be engaged with my family. And that's it. I don't need any, enhancements, if you will.
So I'm assuming people abuse it and use it, like all these moms back home.
Oh, dude,
just using it for like weight
people.
loss.
Well, like, I can remember being in high school when Adderall first came out. There was
So
so many.
what is it used for?
It's a party drug too. Think about it. You take it instead of taking it in the morning to go to work. If you took it at 10 o'clock at night, you could go out, be awake, and whatever you want to call it, all night. That's whenever I've seen people abuse it, that's what they do.
So it's a stimulant.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, so it's like kind of like a caffeination effect.
Yes, you get a little sweatier depending on how much you take, or
Interesting.
yeah, for sure. And that's, like I said, that's whenever I've seen people abuse it, they're doing it like at night to like go out. It would almost be like a cocaine type of effect.
Okay, I just was never in the drug scene, so I just don't know.
Me,
I've always been told,
me either.
I've
Don't get
always
me
been
wrong.
told
Me
cocaine
either,
makes you
but-
feel like Superman, so just don't go to the top of a tall building because you'll think you can fly. So we had people telling us that it was irresponsible for us to leave on tour until COVID was over. And I'm like, man, if we had listened to them, we'd still be at home. We would have never left. We've done like 50,000 miles, like endless cities, like 40
I
states.
feel like some people are just so scared of everything, and you tell them, hey, you should be scared of this, and then they're scared. They're like petrified. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just not gonna live the rest of my life like that. Obviously, I'm respectful of others. If you ask me to wear a mask, I'm gonna wear a mask.
I was respectful of others. I'm getting to the point to where I don't even respect others anymore because it's gone to. I don't care anymore. I just genuinely don't. Like the whole airplane thing of
Well, that's why
wearing
I
a
love
mask.
Florida. Nobody down here is. We're not doing this craziness you see all over the internet. Like I see
There's a
people
few-
wearing.
There's a few places here and there that are doing it, but yeah, for the most part, it's not happening. It's the airlines that like that. I haven't been on an airline, but like the fact that you have to wear a mask on the plane, and then the second everyone gets off and is outside, we all take it off. So we're hanging around each other, and then when we go inside, we put on the mask. Gosh, we were doing that somewhere
Literally
else
makes
too.
0 sense.
Yeah, we were
None
on
of
a tour. We were on a tour somewhere. I can't quite remember, but like we're all hanging out. We're compressed like in a sardine can. But then when we got on the buses, we had to put on a mask, and we're like on top of each other outside of it. So it just. I'm not
Doesn't make
sure
sense.
why. I'm not sure why some of the rules are there anymore. Like it's almost like because it doesn't have any true meaning behind it. Because when we're all together without a mask in one spot and hanging out and close and hugging on top, it's like you've seen memes with the NFL going around lately, where like the quarterback and the reporter are doing the interview for TV, and they're like 6 feet apart. And then the interview ends, and then you have footage of everyone else filming them, and they go up and hug each other and talk each other like 1 foot away. Like I don't understand what we're doing, or that the fact that like the whole NFL players having to wear masks on the sideline of the games last year, but then when they're playing, they don't, and they're tackling each other. They're right next to each other
in the same space.
When they're practicing with each other, and like half the time they're not wearing it. You are like face to face all the time with everyone. You're showering together. You're in locker rooms right next to each other.
Yeah.
So stuff like that is like, but why is this rule a rule? Like, there's no real practicality here. Like, I get. So the argument of do masks work or they not work completely irrelevant. If we're wearing them here but not here, it's a stupid rule. Like, why are we enforcing it here but not here?
Right.
But so yeah, so that whole thing, I've stopped being the considerate person anymore. I don't wear it anymore. Every once in a while, someone, for the most part, no one says anything anymore because I think even the employees that are supposed to enforce it just don't care anymore.
Because I think most of them don't want to say the wrong thing and have someone.
They don't want to trigger anybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did that, and I'm not the guy to fight. I would just walk out. But yeah, I've stopped caring. I've just stopped caring.
I don't care.
It's been too long and too much.
If you're gonna hassle me about wearing a mask in here, I'm gonna be in here in the store for 3 minutes getting shaving cream. I don't want to argue with you. I don't even frankly really want to talk to you. So I'll just throw my thing on real quick, get my stuff, and then I'm gone. Whatever. Yeah. No big deal. So, these people though that have like meltdowns over this stuff though, it's like.
And that's both directions. Meltdowns because you're asking me to wear a mask, and meltdowns because you're not. Both sides are having the craziness. and I think they're both
both.
idiots. So,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
So-
I mean that's just you diffuse a situation. Like I'm not going to be the guy that's going to be screaming and yelling at somebody. It's because here's the whole thing. It's like the Democratic Republican argument. All your fights, all your arguments, all your complaints and yelling at each other in social media posts. A Republican has never changed a Democrat's mind with a social media post, with an argument, with a fight, and a Democrat has never changed a Republican's mind the same way.
Yeah.
So why are you having this discussion? You're like your
Yeah.
blood's boiling for zero gain, for zero purpose.
Yeah,
It's
your
just
blood's boiling because you're never going to convince this guy that your point is the
never,
right point.
never. Maybe a civil discussion where you can, but no one's going to do that. So
Well, I think some of us I think that's what's awesome about America, right? Like I get to have a different opinion than you. We get to have similar opinions. We get to believe different things, but we can also believe a lot of the same things, you know? But I think when people start trying to like enforce that their perspective is the right perspective, I mean, is there a right perspective anymore? You know, like who
you know what's funny? So we've done a lot of
says you're
traveling.
right, you're wrong anymore? Like it's just not. There's so many different opinions out there. You just got to take it for what it is.
Well, and there's lack of tolerance for other opinions. But so we've done a lot of traveling the last couple of years, met a ton of people, face-to-face conversations. We have a ton of them, and we're always on the same page with those people. When I engage with someone one-on-one, or it's my life, even if we're different politically, like we almost agree on everything as far as how to treat people, what's wrong, what's right, how we're raising our kids. Not everything in detailed mode, but like on the big picture, we're kind of all on the same page. We get along, we have a good relationship. It's when people start posting on social media that it seems a whole lot more polarized. And when you look at the country, you look at the news and things like that, it feels a whole lot more polarized. But when it's a person talking to a person, we've just met so many people, and I know they vote differently than me. On the surface, we shouldn't get along, but we get along and we agree on most things. It's been a strange perspective of, when we're face to face, we all get along, but when we've got a lens or a screen between us, it becomes such a vicious conversation and incredibly polarized. I don't have any solution or fix to that, or psychological understanding of it. That's been the reality.
Strange. All of it's very strange.
We've met a ton of people. We have civil conversations. We become friends with just about everyone. We stay in contact. We like each other, and we're not the same politically. We're not the same, even mostly with COVID, because people that are at RV parks and that are out at national parks hiking, that are out at restaurants, wherever we meet people, they're out doing stuff. So I guess they're probably more on the same COVID side as us. They're not hunkered down in a house, because I would have never met them. So I've never met those people that are isolating to that extreme, especially still. So maybe that's the difference. Maybe the people that like to get out in nature and get out and exercise and do stuff, maybe that's why we're all on the same page. But we've yet to get in a single fight with somebody or argument, or walked away saying we really don't like these people or something like that.
Me
it just hasn't
either,
happened.
because I'm not gonna get offended because we're different. Or maybe we're not different, but our opinions on certain topics are different and things like that.
Sure.
I'm always open to having my mind changed about something. If you can change my mind, go for it. And I'm open, because everything you're saying, I don't agree with, but maybe a little piece of it I might add to how I feel,
Well, that's the thing. And maybe that's that 80-20 rule you were talking about earlier. So there's things we don't agree on, but there's other things we do agree on. So we actually like each other. It's just these things over here we just don't agree with. We can still talk about.
Yeah, you can have one of my best friends is very liberal, and I'm not. But we've been friends for 25 years. One of the best people I've ever met in my life. Face
to face, it's all different than behind a screen. But yeah, all those fights and yelling, and I see zero value in it. No, this is why I don't do it. I'm not going to argue with somebody over, especially when you're at the employee level. Like, I'm not going to argue with the hostess at a restaurant over their mask policy. Do you think? First of all, she had nothing to do with it. Like, I don't.
she's just trying to make money and go home.
This is irrelevant. Well,
You
that
know,
same thing on social media. I mean, you get into the comment section and you read them sometimes. You're like, why are you people arguing back and forth? I don't understand. Neither one of you have gained anything from this.
I
Like,
stay out of the comments on those posts. I stay
oh, I
out of
love
them.
them. I love them. And if
Yeah,
I wish.
not me.
I wish I didn't have. I wish I had a fake account or like a different. Like I wasn't like a persona where I can be recognized, because be the guy that adds fuel to the fires and things like that, and just makes the conversations
instigator?
way.
Yeah.
You can tell people that are out there just doing that because why not? No one gives a crap about what they say. But if I say something as 100% dad just to be devil's advocate or add fuel to a fire or just mess with somebody, that's not going to go well for me. So I try.
Yeah, you got a bit of a following that I would protect.
So I try not to stir up too much controversy. It's one of the reasons I haven't done like a Facebook group or a chat forum or anything. It's like there's going to be so many bullcrap answers that it gets thrown his way, because I've seen those forums. I mean, guys, there was one called, I think it was called A Bunch of Dads. I was on it for about 5 minutes and I was like, my gosh, like the comments are horrendous, but most of them are jokes. They don't actually expect you, hey, your wife wants you to do the dishes. Yeah. Is her mother hot? Yeah, go bang her. That'll teach her to ask you to do the dishes. This is not facilitating productive conversation. Super entertaining, but not productive.
The comments
in
are
any way, shape, or
funny
form.
or like whatever, but
yeah, or just wild and out there, and then you have the responses to those comments of like people that thought it was a serious comment versus people who thought it was a joke, or the context was, or it was taken out of context. I mean, those things go a million different ways. And they are
like, man, I'll just read them. I'm staying out.
That's the thing. So it ends up really not helping. Because even if you ask a question like, hey, what should I do in this scenario? If you're a struggling dad that really is genuinely asking a question, you're going to get 500 answers, 200 do this, 200 do that, and then 100 that are jokes and just messing with you. And so you really didn't get any good clarity because you don't know the person that's giving the advice. You usually don't know the context of the situation, but you don't get an answer. There's no clear cut in a chat forum.
Well,
that drives me. I wish we could foster it.
If you're talking about life stuff, is there really like one clear answer? I think that.
Well, no, but here's the thing. If you talk about the fact that you're struggling in your marriage, every dad that's gone through a divorce or is going through a divorce or is thinking about that is going to sit there, divorce her ass. You got to get rid of her. She's a weight. She's baggage. She's toxic. Get rid of it. And then guys that have worked through those struggles are going to be sitting there saying, hey, like, put some effort into this, try and work through it. There's light at the end of the tunnel. Then you got the single dads like, why would you ever get married? That's a stupid thing. That's an institution that holds you back. And so you get so much different that the guy that was asking what he should do in that situation for his relationship that's struggling didn't get any good answers. Maybe there's good answers. He's just got a smorgasbord of everything. I feel like they're not helpful. So that's the reason we haven't done one. I haven't done like a forum or chat group concept, is because I feel like it's going to get out of control, especially with guys, because they tend to lean heavy towards comedy and stirring up trouble.
Well, and I feel like your page is a little bit more wholesome and whatnot. So yeah, when you're talking about branding, you don't want to be having chat forums that are
exactly
off brand or talking about topics that you wouldn't really condone or promote on this page.
Yeah, so that's been the whole theory. So because the community would be fun, I just don't know how to, especially being on the road, I wouldn't know how to moderate it. Like there's this, there were many times out west I went 2-3 weeks without even a cell phone signal, so I would have no idea what's going on.
And then you get back to your phone and you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that gets fun. So you're married. How long you been married? 5, almost 6 years. How'd y'all meet?
Tinder. I swiped right. I was ready to get married. I'm ready to kind of like start that whole deal, get a house, do all of that.
Tinder was holding you back from getting a house?
No. I mean, I'm in a house in an aspect of like a home.
A home.
I wanted a home, not a house. Yeah, I was about to give up, and then my wife came through. She was more than patient with me. Didn't exactly want to get into a super serious relationship with anybody else until I was sure that that's who I was going to end up with. So that took some time, and here we are, 6 years, going on 6 years later.
So what was the first date?
First date was at my little bachelor pad apartment.
Cheapskate.
I was in between jobs. I was so broke, man. I'm just remembering how broke I was. I mean, showering with Dawn dish soap.
What were you
So
doing as a career? That was
I was a
pre-insurance, I'm
land.
assuming.
I was yes. I was a landscape designer for a little while, about 10 years. This was before the design part. This was like I was just out there cutting grass and doing the whole thing. She came. I invited her. We had talked for like 2 or 3 weeks every day. I was kind of raised, if you're gonna take a woman on a date, you should pay. You should pay.
Sure.
I didn't have any money or enough to pay for both of us. So I had another job like lined up where I was going to be making a little bit more money, but that hadn't come up yet when we met. So invited her over for pizza and beer at my apartment. And luckily she came. And yeah, it was kind of an embarrassing date, man. I had no washer or dryer at my apartment at the time, and I had like a little laundromat like at the end of my block, like through the alley. I lived down in the city. I had nothing to wear. I got home from work. I was like, oh my gosh, everything's dirty. So I'm running back and forth, like getting ready for this date. And I got ready like right before I finished getting ready, like right before she got there. I can remember sitting there, we're on my couch, we're kind of like talking. It's the first time we've met in person. I felt like a bead of sweat like roll down my face. And I looked at her and I was like, I'm not normally this sweaty. I've just been running back and forth. Like, don't think I'm weird. So to this day, we still kind of have a good laugh about that one.
Well, that's nice. A little started from the bottom. Now we're here.
Yeah, I was just sweaty and nervous, and somehow she made it to day two, or I made it to day two.
So I did construction for a summer. After my freshman year of college, and landscape guys were kind of in that same scene. It's kind of similar. Very blue collar, kind of a rough crowd. Not all of them, but a lot of them. But the patterns were all the same. It's a wake up early kind of job. You get to, so I don't know, were you in a crew or did you do it on your own?
So I was an account manager. So I wasn't, like you're saying, maybe this guy calls in today and I might be out on the crew for that day.
Okay.
The next day I might be in my own truck. Majority of the time I was in my own truck by myself, kind of overseeing the different jobs and stuff.
Okay. So you weren't necessarily, on the mower every single day.
Not every day, but
so this scenario though, because the construction guys do the same thing. They pretty much start out the same way. You get up early, you go, you get your assignments or whatever. You pretty much know what you're going to do, but you kind of gather at the main building, get in your trucks and all, get your tools, and then you head out. And the first stop is a convenience store. So every construction truck in the freaking country goes to a convenience store. Same with the landscaping guys. They all, and they get a big, heavy, greasy breakfast. They get coffee, they get fuel, gas, whatever you need. But it always amazed me that, these guys were always spending like $10 in the morning for breakfast. And then come lunch hour, they take an hour off of work that you don't get paid for, which I always hated. I always brought my peanut butter and jelly sandwiches with me, like in a brown bag.
Give me the time. Give me that hour.
Right. I would happily work. It was like, I'll keep moving. Like I can bite a sandwich while I'm moving stuff. Cause I was labor, I wasn't laying block. I was taking the block to the foreman and making sure he never ran out of mud and block. So I could keep doing that. But yeah. So anyway, so we were all up clock for an hour. They would always go to Sonny's barbecue or somewhere. And then they would spend like $15, $20 at lunch. And I'd sit there at the table with my peanut butter and jelly, or sometimes I stay behind at the site, like in a shade spot. And then after work, what's the next stop? Convenience store. Back at it.
Beer.
And then you get a case of beer, maybe some more beef jerky or meats, whatever, hot dogs. I don't know. and you spend another like 15, $20, and it just blew my mind. That these guys are spending $10 in the morning and then not getting paid, let's call it $15 an hour, not getting paid 15 for an hour, going to spend 15 or 20 on lunch. And then after work, blowing another 10, $20. And I, in the mornings and even I never bought a thing at the convenience store. It just blew my mind how many hours they worked in that day just so they could work that day. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. That's
like
why
if they're
I
making
left.
if they're making $15 an hour and they spend 15 at breakfast, lunch, and after work, so that's 3 hours of work they had to do just while they were at work, just to make up for what they spent while at work. And then they didn't work an hour in lunch. That was like 4 hours of the day. Just what was the point?
Yeah, well,
it blew my mind. I don't understand. Now, obviously, some of those guys, the Masons guys, have been there. They're making a whole lot more than that. They're making 30, 40 an hour. But still, it was such an incredible spend. And then the other thing that blew my mind is I don't understand why we have to buy it at the convenience store. Like, go down to Walmart, buddy. The beer is cheaper. Like, you don't have to buy it at
30-pack instead of a 24 or.
It was a mentality I could not handle. And then the language was incredibly crude. The topics of discussion were just blew my mind. I was very sheltered, I think. So I learned a lot.
Most of the guys I was dealing with were Spanish of some sort, and I didn't speak a lick of Spanish in the beginning. Now I'm halfway decent, but in the beginning, it's like I'm just in the truck. Nobody's talking. They're all talking, but I have no clue what they're talking about. So I'm just kind of driving.
But yeah, those convenience store trips is. I just couldn't get to that mentality. I couldn't understand it. And I think I even brought it up to a few of them that like, I don't understand why we do it. It was just like, that's what we do. Oh, and then the cigarettes too. They were all buying cigarettes as well. And chew. I'm like, man, there's just so much money going to these convenience stores. Like even back then, I'm like,
cigarettes is like, what is it? I'm pretty sure it's like $10 or something. Some places.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe. And then chew, of course. What was that, $3-4?
It's probably around the same, man. I mean, depends on just name brand versus whatever. I mean, I'm sure there's $10 dip out there as well.
I couldn't get past it. It just, but I liked the construction. I liked the work. I just didn't like the crowd. That was my thing, because it is immensely satisfying to do that kind of like very hard work and like to see something built. Like it's such a tangible result to your efforts. It was really cool. But I did not stick with it. I did my one summer.
It gets hot.
Yeah, the Florida summers were blazing. But
what's the movie on repeat right now that the kids are watching?
So I don't know what they watch in the back because they have their own TVs and headsets, so I don't hear it.
Oh, okay.
So they keep like a small, like one of those CD binders.
Yeah.
And they'll switch them out with the CDs or the DVDs and the RV, and those kind of keep them fresh. I don't know. They've really got into Home Alone for a while.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one, man. That's a classic.
So we're turning them on to classics. That way, if I have to watch it, I can.
If I have to watch Trolls or Frozen.
So back when we had a different truck, like I would have to listen to what they're watching, and so we would drive to like our farm in West Virginia from Florida, which is 13 hours.
Yeah.
Really 14, 15 hours with young kids because they got to pee every 7 minutes. That movie, then that was when Frozen first came out, and I had to listen to Frozen like 3-4 times on the way up and 3-4 times on the way back. I don't get to watch the movie, and my wife would sit in the back with the kids because why should she sit up front when there's a movie playing in the back? But that was like it would use the car's audio system.
So you'd have to sit there and just listen to the whole thing. You can recite it, but you can't tell. That's funny.
Yeah. So for a long time, that was one, and there were a couple others I just can't remember.
That almost might be more torturous than having to watch the movie repetitively over and over and over.
Yeah, I like the fact that now they have their own movie player. They're like the headrests are the movie players. They can watch separate movies, or they can watch one and they're sits together. They each have their own headphones. So they can listen, they can switch them back and forth between the different screens. They can do whatever they want, and I don't have to deal with it. I can just drive this giant RV without being stressed on what's going on in the back. That was the theory. now that we're like 2 years into doing this, they, the movies are less cool and less attention getting that they used to be. So sometimes there's still arguments and fights over what they're watching and all that kind of. We had to do a rule of there's no special features. Like you can't go into the deleted scenes and stuff while we're in the car because that always caused a fight. I don't want to watch the deleted scenes. Well, I do, And so because they get to switch, the oldest two, the youngest really gets his own TV. He does whatever he wants. The oldest two, they switch back and forth. Like you get a movie once, then you get the movie. And they're different ages, so they want to watch different things sometimes, even though they all like the same stuff. If it was Levi's turn to pick a movie, he would want to watch all the special featured and deleted scenes. And, that was his turn. And so it could extend his turn into a long time. And so the other kid's fighting because he wants to watch a different movie. And then he'll try and do the same thing with deleted scenes and special features and bonus cuts and director's versions. And so it was causing so many fights in the back that, the reason we put these TVs in there was so Dad can drive this RV without fights going on in the back and being distracted because I don't want to kill us. So yeah, now there's a firm rule of no special features, no deleted scenes. You watch the movie, play, start to finish, and that's it. Yeah, so it's weird the rules you have to come up with as a parent. All right, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on the podcast. We're running crazy. I'm sure you got to do some work eventually today.
Yeah, I do. It was good to meet
absolutely.
you.
Same here. Have a good one.
See ya.
Yep. Bye.
This is 100% Dad. Find our current tour schedule on 100dad.com, 100dad.com, on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and more at 100dad, 100dad. Email Townsend at 100dad.com.